Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to share with you guys the build guide for my iShot of Penetration Totem Trickster, which I leak started for 3.25. So you can also attach to that what you will, like for example, is it budget friendly or what? Because I basically started this build from zero together with everyone else at the leak start. So without further ado, let's begin. Okay, so the build is built around the transfigured version of iShot, which was introduced recently in 3.24. So how it differs is that the transfigured version has innate pierce. Here it gives 3 additional pierce, 3 additional target. It deals damage in a cone on either side of the hit, so it's perpendicular rather than behind the target. It also has higher damage effectiveness but lower attack speed. And also another thing that's not covered here is that modifiers to number of projectiles do not apply to this skill. So basically it doesn't scale with number of added projectile like most other bow skill does. So how to work around that is that we'll be using Totem, which the build is using Wilma's Requital. Wilma's Requital is a helmet that's been introduced for quite some time, but not many people are using it. But let's go one by one, reading the line what it does. Number 1 gives accuracy rating, which is nice. It gives increased elemental damage with attack skill, and this is one of the most important note right here, which is line right here, which is Ancestral Bond. Ancestral Bond has the same effect as the Keystone Ancestral Bond, where it gives +1 maximum number of totem, but also you cannot deal any damage by yourself. It's located near the Templar tree, so this helmet is of great value for people on the right side of the tree, where pathing all the way to Ancestral Bond is too much of a sunken cost to even consider. And one interesting line from this helmet is that this line right here, increases and reduction to cast speed applied to attack speed. Okay, inside Path of Exile, there are some buffs, aura, charge effect and whatnot that usually scales both together, but most builds do not utilize those two effect together. If you're an attacking build, you only benefit from the attack speed. If you're casting, if you're a caster, you only benefit from the cast speed. But this line right here basically allows you to double dip. So all we need to do is find the which buff that gives us this attack and cast speed the most to really benefit from this line. So an example here stated in the wiki is like haste, while haste and frenzy charge. But the one that we will be really focusing on is the one we get from Soul Ascension Glove. Soul Ascension Glove is something that was buffed last league, where it now gives soul when you hit rare or unique enemy. Previously only on unique enemy, so now it's rare on unique, so it functions well during mapping also. What it does is it gives 5% increased attack and cast speed. And because Wilma's Requital allows us to double dip, so we actually get 10% increased attack speed from this line alone. And this is a stacking buff, and you can stack up to a maximum number of 45 by default. So if you can see here from this Wikipedia page, Soul Ascension grants a total of 250% increased attack speed and cast speed at 50 stacks, for a total of 500% increased attack speed. So that's huge. Soul Ascension alone is quite a great endgame unique, but interaction with Wilma's Requital turns it even better, as if it even needed that in the first place. Okay, first up is the pros and cons of the build, and as usual, I'm just going to read off the notes inside my POB that I already written, but just to maybe elaborate it even further for you guys. Okay, first up, Totem gameplay. So basically, Totem gameplays, if you are familiar with it, the good thing about Totem gameplay is that you separate the one doing the DPS and you yourself as somebody who needs to survive. So for those who likes playing the playstyle, it's a plus point. But for those who don't, it's also a negative point. So your mileage may vary. It depends on you. But if you haven't played any totem build yourself, maybe this is a good place to start. Maybe this is a good first totem build to play. Anyway, it has decent clear for totem build because this is mainly attributed eye shot, because the transfigured version is extremely good for clearing due to the fact of due to the innate pierce and cone explosion. And since we summon multiple totem, it has we have multiple firing point of the eye shot itself, so it can clear really well. We have good DPS and uptime. This is particularly attributed to the totem playstyle just now, because I mentioned that you are splitting the work between DPS and survivability. And currently the build is sitting at 21 million DPS, and that's not even counting some of the stuff that I purposely didn't take because I didn't know because I didn't think it's reliable enough. And the tornado reflect DPS, I'm not really sure how to properly express it inside the great survivability. As you can see right here, our effective hit pool is 64,000, and this is also this is also on top of the totem gameplay where we can focus on evading enemy attacks. It can consistently inflict freeze, and freeze is actually an extremely good ailment immunity to inflict, because for some bosses it can really trivialize the fight, as they can't even move, and your totem only hits stronger and stronger because as you build Soul Eater stack. So if you could say that if they start to freeze, chances are they're going to keep on freezing until the end. It's cheap to start and here because it's using particularly niche units like Wilma's Requital, but some of the endgame stuff might be a little bit expensive. But just to start, should be no issue. It's proven because I basically league started this for 3.25, but it's also scalable up to 10 plus mil DPS, which I, as you can see here, sitting at 20 million just now. And it can run many map mods like no reflect, no leech, reflect, etc. Okay, cons covered just now. Totem gameplay. Okay, totems. One of the part that I didn't like about totems is that it has an active aggro range of only 60 units, or if in game now it's probably called 6 meter, and actually to the end of the screen it's like 80, 85, 90 or something. So even though the totem can off-screen enemy using its attack, it won't attack the enemy if the enemy is not within 60 range, and that particular behavior cannot be changed. So I think that's quite annoying to have. And there's also the problem with scaling and understanding totem, because totem inherits your stats, but there's some quirkiness and nuances when it comes to stats that affect it. Because sometimes when it says you, your totem benefits from it, but sometimes when it says you, it's not really you. So it can be quite confusing. And finally, it's unique dependent. So yeah, not really suitable for SSF. Okay, next up is the offensive and defensive layers of the build. And first up is Wilma's Requital and Soul Ascension attack speed double dipping. So I already covered this inside the build intro. And Totem DPS consistency. So basically also covered in the build intro as well. For defensive layers, we have armor, spell suppression, stun immunity, and elemental element immunity. So armor is something that we get from our armor, our flask, and also we convert it. We actually get it in form of evasion, but we convert it all into armor using Keystone Iron Reflex. And spell suppression is something that we get from the tree, and also our body armor, Hero's Ire. Stun immunity is something we get from tree, and also tattoos. Tassalio Touch Shifter, I think was the name, which allows us to have 100% stun avoidance. And finally, elemental ailment is something we get from Purity of Elements aura. Okay. Second defensive layer, Trickster Ascendancy. Okay, Trickster has quite a decent amount of defensive quality of life ascendancy node. Like for example, one step ahead allows you to mix your action speed to be at least 108% of base value. This basically negates things like temporal chain, maim, hinder, and a lot of other action speed slowing effect in the game. You previously was enough when you were just freeze immune, but nowadays with so many different kind of slowing effect, this node is actually getting more and more worthwhile to take. And Escape Artist allows us to convert evasion rating per maximum energy shield on helmet and maximum energy shield per evasion rating on body armor, which we fully utilize because Wilma's Requital have 266 energy shield. As you can see here, if we remove this, our armor goes down by 8,000%. Sorry, 8,400. And if we remove Harry's Ire, our energy shield will go down by 800. So these two really make full use of Escape Artist and Spellbreaker, which gives us extra chance to suppress spell damage, but it also allows you to have a chance for energy shield recharge to start when you suppress spell damage. This is actually very good if you not at all respecting into energy shield, because at the moment we have 1,400. We basically don't allocate anything at all to increase this. So at a very low investment, this is something very good to have. And finally, chill and freeze ailment plus totem playstyle. So when you flick chill and freeze, it allows the build to focus heavily on dodging on top of having the totem playstyle. Also again covered inside the pros and cons and the build info. Okay, up next is the Mastery, Ascendancy and whatnot. Okay, let's go back to the POB. Okay, so Mastery, Ascendancy, Bandits, Pantheon. Okay. Important Mastery. Number one, Totem Mastery. Oops. Totem Mastery. It says 30% chance to summon 2 totem instead, because we're not using multiple totem support. So this is quite important when you want to maximize the number of totem as quickly as possible. Cold Mastery, enemies take increased damage per second frozen, because the build, the average sheet of the build is 1,300 and it can reliably freeze enemy with that amount of damage. Cold Mastery, physical damage converted to cold. Mana Mastery, reservation efficiency. Elemental Mastery, hits have chance to create resistance as inverted. And finally, Bow Mastery, projectile speed applies to percentage damage. And just want to remind you, these are just the stuff that I think it's important. But there's also other mastery that the build take. If you can see here from Polymath, Polymath gives at least 33% more damage. So we have at least 11 different type of mastery that we've allocated. This is something just only the important stuff that I covered. Okay, Ascendancy. This is the recommended progression that you take. Number one is one step ahead, the base action speed during level, so that you have good base action speed during leveling. Number two, Polymath, just for damage. Unfortunately, if you're playing the totem build, you don't really benefit from the recover percentage, life, energy shield, and mana on kill. I'm not sure if your totem actually benefit from this or not. Anyway, and then third ascendancy point is Escape Artist, and finally Spellbreaker, for the reasons that I have covered just now. For bandits, we kill all of them for 1 point. Just a heads up, they move the old 2 skill points and split it into number 1 bandits, and number 2 is like the, I can't remember what's the quest inside the Fell Shrine Ring, but basically you need to do both to get back all the skill points that is missing from killing all bandits. Just one of the skill point that was missing, killing all the bandits. For Pantheon, taking Soul of Arakali, because unfortunately the build kinda have trouble to maximize the chaos resistance, so this is nice to have. as if you remove because you get to remove damage over time. But initially, you need to take Brian King when you don't have any tattoo yet for stun avoidance, and you want to at least have some form of stun immunity. Minor Pantheon, Soul of Rislata for Life Plus. Okay, next we'll move over to the gem setup. Okay, number one, main skill will be using Eye Shot of Penetration. Will be linked to Ballista Totem, Cold Penetration, Elemental Damage with attacks, Increased Critical Damage, and Hypothermia. So this is our main skill. Basically, other than Ballista Totem, everything we take is just to maximize our average hit, just to inflict freeze. In terms of DPS, there's actually better support gem than Hypothermia. For example, Returning Projectile. But it's important for us to really maximize the damage of our single shot in order to freeze reliably. Just a reminder, it's best to get quality on Ballista Totem so that you can get totem placement speed, because this is a very rare stat on our side of the tree. But it's what it does is that it allows you to summon totem faster, and the only point on the tree that you can take is right here, which I recommend you take during leveling. And once you get other sources of totem placement skill, then you can spec to this right side here for critical scaling. And also get quality on Eye Shot of Penetration, because it expands the angle of the cone to give you better clear. Mana Forge Arrow utility setup. We're using Mana Forge Arrow plus Frenzy plus Ensnare Arrow plus Rain of Arrows, Power Charge on crit, Life Gain on hit. So this is something that we set up to automate the utilities, but Ballista skills cannot actually trigger anything, but summoning the Ballista can trigger the Mana Forge Arrow. So that's just something I need to highlight, because some people might not know the interaction can actually work. Anyway, Frenzy is to allow us to generate Frenzy Charge. Ensnare Arrow just to increase projectile damage taken on enemy. And finally, Rain of Arrows. This is basically linked with Power Charge on crit and Life Gain on hit, so that it allows the build to reliably gain Power Charge, and also it's great for gaining life, because otherwise the build doesn't have any leech or any form of leech whatsoever. So this Rain of Arrows allows us to gain a lot of life on hit, and it's especially useful when the mob pack is very dense, and each arrow like gives us I don't know, maybe 200 life gain on hit per arrow. And so because this is running on a 6 link, during early game you can split the setup into two. One Mana Forge Arrow with Frenzy and Ensnare Arrow, and another Mana Forge Arrow with the Power Charge on crit and Life Gain on hit. Movement skill using Frost Blink and Bone Chill. Although Bone Chill gives increased damage taken based on chill effect on enemy. Although we cannot technically damage enemy to inflict chill, but Frost Blink leaves chill area on the ground, and it can synergize with Bone Chill regardless, even if you don't inflict any damage. So it's a movement skill, and the chilling area will cause enemy to take increased damage taken. But just a heads up, do not spam it if you think you need to evade enemy attacks, because you want the Frost Blink to not be on cooldown during tougher fights where you think you might need it. And Mark on Hit, just a simple Assassin's Mark plus Mark on Hit. But also want to highlight, this only applies when you yourself hit the enemy and not from your totem. So that's why we have this Mana Forge Arrow setup right here. Because when damage taken, we're linking it to Molten Shell and Tornado. So Tornado helps for extra DPS and also allows us to gain Soul Eater stack from the Tornado hitting the enemies multiple times. It's just that I don't really know how much DPS the tornado contribute because it's quite conditional, I would say. But basically, whatever DPS you're looking at, it does not factor in the tornado DPS as of yet. And finally, for our gem setup is our aura and enduring cry. So for aura, we're using grace, precision, beauty of element, hatred, and enduring cry. Nothing is linked, so you can socket wherever free. And hatred is socketed last, only after you get Owl's Uprising, which gives you hatred has no reservation. But also the heads up, you can go for either hatred or grace version because either way functions the same. I just went for hatred because hatred was the cheaper one on the market. So just go for whatever cheap, whichever is cheaper. But at the time of you reading the build guide, and enduring cry is unlinked, but I don't really press it that much. I only use it during tougher enemies and not during very dense maps because there is a slow casting time on it, and I couldn't work around linking it to urgent orders or what, so I just leave it as is unlinked, and it's something that I only use during bosses most of the time. So be careful when using it because it's going to lock you in a half-second animation at least. And finally, we come to the gears and explanation section of the build. Okay, first up is our bow. So we're using high physical plus cold damage bow, or you can use a pure physical bow, but I think that would be much more expensive. So as you can see here from this bow, we have high increased physical damage plus flat physical damage, but we don't have a hybrid physical damage mod. Instead, we use cold damage mod. So the total DPS of the bow is like 989, which is quite nice. And actually, I can still upgrade it, but I think it's good enough for now. So whatever. Anyway, it should be cheaper to get because it does not require any plus projectile to scale the build. And quiver, we're using rare DPS quiver at the end game, but during leveling, you can use Heli's Bite or Ahuana's Bite for the reasons stated below. Okay. Helmet, we're using Wilma's Requital for the totem scaling, and it's the most important unique for the build. So make sure this is best in slot, so there's no alternative for it, and it's usually cheap because most people don't actually play totem build, at least from what I know and from my previous league's experience. So you probably can corrupt it for very very cheap. I think even though I'm not using a corrupted one at the moment, but I think these two are the best corruption implicit that you can get. Body armor, we're using 6-link Heli's Ire for evasion, damage, and spell suppression. So it's best in slot for bow skill. I don't think I need to elaborate on that. Glove, using Soul Ascension, also for the reason of interaction with Wilma's Requital, already explained in the earlier section of the video. Boots, we're using double influence rare, and important part is you need to get at least 11% spell suppression on the boots based on the skill tree to cap our spell suppression. Otherwise, you need to spend some points during leveling to get spell suppression elsewhere, maybe here, entrench, to cap your spell suppression. Okay, belt, we're using rare Stygian Vice for life and resistance, and also damage if you can find a slot to slot it in. For rings, during leveling, we recommend using Chevron's Revolution for mana regen, but during endgame, we're using rare ring plus Polaric Devastation. So for the rare ring, you need to roll life, resistance, and also intelligence. During that the build is using have 47 intelligence roll, at least high enough to equip Wilma's Requital, which has a 122 intelligence requirement. Polaric Devastation to cover enemy in frost. Make sure you put it in the correct slot. I think it was the right slot based on the description. And important note, it's important to craft minus mana cost on skills from Elrion, so that it brings down the mana cost of the Mana Forge setup, such that it will trigger every time Ballista is summoned. So it's not mandatory, but it's a good quality of life to have. But the build can still function without it. Just highlighting that. For Amulet, endgame using Owl's Uprising, as mentioned before. You can use either Grace or Hatred because it's identical for the build. Just choose for whatever's cheaper. Anointment, we're taking Shaman's Dominion. And Jewels, first we have Jewel Lethal Pride, socketed here near the Ranger Keystone, Ranger starting point. The important note is you have. I recommend to at least have one increased totem placement speed and as much chance to deal double damage as possible, because it allows you to break the threshold for inflicting freeze on the enemy if your build cannot inflict them reliably. Watcher's Eye, we have plus charge on crit with precision plus hit rate and where is it? Damage penetrates cold resistance under hit rate. Impossible escape to allow us to allocate this 4-point right here near Wind Dancer. This is now Chain Breaker because it's under the effect of Lethal Pride, just for your info. Abyss Jewel, just life and DPS. This is something that you put if you have a rare Stygian Vice, otherwise you can skip that. Tattoos, most important here is 7 of 10% chance to avoid being stunned to obtain stun immunity, because the remaining 30% we get here from Heart of Oak and these two notes right here to gives us a 100% chance to avoid stun. And the rest you can play around. These 4 are the other beneficial tattoos that I'm also using. I think Blind is also important because it allows you to gain a 100% chance to hit on evasive enemy. And finally, Flask. Number 1, we're using Bleed Life Flask. 2, important, we're using Enduring Eternal Mana Flask. And for Suffix, you craft it with life, 3% life regen during effect. This is something you can get from Katarina from Syndicate. And then Silver Flask, Basalt Flask, suffixes that you need, Curse Effect and Evasion. You can swap around suffixes on either of them, doesn't really matter. And finally, for the last slot, we have Bottle Faith for our DPS. And that's about it for the build. I also forgot to. I always forgot to cover the header note for my build. Okay, something I want to recommend for you guys if you want to play this build. I would recommend to level using Rain of Arrows for general clear and Ballista for single target. And my recommendation criteria for when you want to recommended criteria for when you want to fully transition to Ballista build. These 3. Number 1, you allocated Watchtowers and Surveillance for +1 maximum number of totem here and also +1 here. And also have the mastery skills that would summon totem have 30% chance to summon instead. And finally obtain Ice Shot of Penetration Transfigured Gem, because Ice Shot alone won't really give you the same level of clear compared to Ice Shot of Penetration. And just something interesting that I also want to cover. At the moment for the configuration, I'm putting 15 number of Soul Eater stacks, but there are some instances where you can actually reach the maximum. Let's say for example, the Soul Ascension glove that I'm using have -4, so by default 45 -4 is 41. So maximum number of Soul Eater stack is actually 41 for this build, and if you can reach it, the full DPS is 34 million right here. So yeah, it's just that it's quite conditional and you can't reliably reach it most of the time due to multiple reasons. So I only put it as 15 right here. And yeah, I think that's about it for my build guide. As usual, if you have any question or any clarification that you'd like to ask me, you can ask away inside the comment section of the YouTube video, and I'll try to find I'll try to answer them whenever I have the free time, whenever it's convenient. And that's about it. Thank you very much. Bye.